Good afternoon, everybody. This is Adrienne Montgomery with ERP VAR. Thank you so much for taking time out of your busy day to join us today. We're going to be talking about the top 4 items to consider before moving Sage ERP to the cloud. I'm so pleased to be joined by Cloud at Work. They have been in the business for many years and have extreme knowledge and expertise when it comes to all of the Sage products. They are one of the very top partners in the Sage channel. And without any further delay, I'm going to go ahead and let Tyler get started. Thank you so much, Tyler.
Thank you, Adrienne. Thanks so much. And again, I'll reiterate the thanks for giving us your time. I really appreciate it. Everything's going to last probably about 30 minutes, so definitely take advantage of the Q&A at the end. It's my favorite part about doing these. So if you have any questions, please, nothing is a bad question. So my name is Tyler Bauer. I'm the Director of Cloud and Hosting Services at Cloud at Work. Cloud at Work is a sister company to Net at Work. I know that's a lot of at works, but we specialize in really one thing. It's creating the absolute best experience for Sage users in the cloud. That's everything that we do. We stay super laser focused on that, and it's done very well for us because we're able to create game-changing experiences for Sage users, and as well, we've been able to grow very fast over the last 3 years in keeping that extreme focus. So really, this kind of hierarchs what we're about. We realized 3 years ago that there was a big gap in the marketplace. So Net at Work has been doing cloud services for probably about 8 to 9 years. We were using some of the big providers out there like AWS and Azure. When I came on, we did a thorough evaluation of the experience. We started with the experience that we wanted to define first. So we had a very non-negotiable list of things that we wanted to be able to very specifically deliver for Sage users in the cloud. And in order to get that list all the way to the point of completion, we realized that we had to build our own cloud solution. So 3 years ago, we decided to launch multiple data centers across the United States and North America and build our own technology and invest in our own technology so we have full end-to-end control from the infrastructure data center level all the way through the application, and can really build a phenomenal experience for end users and as well build a phenomenal experience for Sage partners. The way that we were going to do this was we noticed that there's a lot of cloud companies out there. I just mentioned a few, AWS and Azure, but they really don't have any type of investment strategy or any type of knowledge around the application itself. And really, companies don't consume cloud without applications, right? Applications are what we use every day on the cloud. And at the same time, there's a lot of Sage cloud partners out there who were delivering cloud solutions, but really their main focus was the application and maybe weren't really getting into the enterprise level cloud solutions for that subset of customers. So we decided to build a platform built on flexibility, scalability, and security. And we're going to talk about that in a little bit, but pairing that all with a phenomenal Sage integrated experience that again can work with your current business partner very easily. So we're going to cover 4 things indirectly, not necessarily going down a list. I'm not a big PowerPointer, but we're going to cover how operating in the cloud has a positive impact on redundancy and disaster recovery, system performance, and consistency of data reporting. We're going to cover what cloud hosting options look like for Sage, pricing models, architecture, design, expectations. We're going to cover the Cloud at Work Sage hosting options. So really the product schema of how we go to the marketplace and really solve customer problems. And then as well, knowing your risks and understanding your costs. So thinking about expectations, changing the way that we evaluate technology. Technology is changing very fast, and our evaluation process and our expectations need to change with that. So getting started, I always like to kind of get our brains working in the same direction, and why not talk about the elephant in the room, which is today's world, right? It's been a crazy 3 to 4 months, and really the cloud has been a big part of that when it comes to personal lives and business, right? Whether it's people now working from home more often, whether it's implementing more of a cloud-based strategy at the office, or even the Zoom calls that we use just to stay in touch with family and friends and maybe have a beverage or two. So the cloud has been integral in what we're doing across the board for the past 4 months, and the numbers have shown that just across the board of adoption of the cloud. So the reason why it's so important and why the cloud is moving in this direction is really because, in my opinion, of the shift from the at home. Technology already pre-COVID was changing at such a pace and adopting at such a pace based on security, based on compliance, based on regulation, that it was already becoming difficult for companies to keep pace, right? To keep that investment pace of on-prem infrastructure, to change their backup and DR policies, to train their users and create secure connection and remote connection. And these compounding changes were happening before because of as well of just the younger workforce coming into the marketplace and demanding the I need my information now philosophy. If it's not on my 6-inch screen in my hand, I'm not looking at it. So really we've been pushed by a lot of different competing factors, and then you throw in the COVID-19, where it's basically turned upside down on its head. Really, companies were not prepared. A lot of companies weren't prepared either with secure connection methods to get to their servers, network and bandwidth considerations so that everyone remoting in could consume enough bandwidth, basically turning their office into a data center. Maybe there was IT projects and redundancy projects that kind of took a back burner, but now really needed to go to the forefront. So more and more people are shifting at an alarming rate to an as a service model in order to position all of that risk and position all of that change to companies and organizations that focus on that 100,000% of the time. Really, when you look at Sage specifically, and this was one of the deciding factors of Cloud at Work really coming into the marketplace to change the schema, was you had applications like CRM, HR, Office 365, right? That really took cloud and really hockey stick growth from the beginning, right? The reason for this was really software as a service, right? These applications were born out of a software as a service platform, cloud first mentality from infrastructure up. More and more companies are adopting or developing multi-tenant or SaaS strategies, but ERP has been a laggard because a lot of organizations, including Sage, really don't want to lose the methodology or lose the culture of what made them so great, which within the Sage community is you have this central platform, the central application. And there's a community of phenomenal ISVs and channel partners and developers creating solutions that enhance that package and allow customers to have that freedom of choice with how their business process works and how that application is going to integrate into their business. Some of the downsides of software as a service are that really here's a box that we've built for everyone, and whether or not you fit in it, you got to conform to the way that we do things. So companies like Cloud at Work entering the marketplace to say, listen, we understand that you're not like every other business. We understand that your business is unique. You're using different ISVs, third parties, custom software, what have you. And you need that all to work because you don't have the time to change your business to conform for servers, basically, right? So what's really changing the curve as far as ERP growth in the cloud segment is the development of multi-tenant strategies, cloud-to-cloud integration, and cloud providers like Cloud at Work who have a no limitation, no red tape philosophy and aren't allowing customers to sacrifice their way of doing business in order to go to the cloud. Providers like Cloud at Work conform to the way that you do business, so that way you're still getting all of the best of the cloud resources that you need. You're still getting that application expertise from a cloud provider, but you get to do business the same way that you have for all these years, and still use the same partners that you have for all these years. If you look at some of the numbers and the fundamental shift, now all these numbers are actually pre-COVID. So I'm really interested to see what these numbers look like. Probably we'll get them in Q3, Q4, but these were, the 2020 numbers were really expectations just based on trends. But you look at the shift, and more business, more and more workloads are moving to the cloud. And it's not going to slow down. Even with this, I feel like it's going to speed up. And we talked about some of those reasons, just technology changes, new people in the workforce who demand remote working or demand instant gratification of data. But the biggest one is really cybersecurity. And when you look at cybersecurity from, let's look at the last 13 years, and just to put it in perspective, 13 years ago is when the first iPhone came out, right? So not too long ago. I know it seems like 2007 was a long time ago, but you're talking about the beginning of the iPhone, basically. Back then, a lot of you probably were just like me in thinking that, our small to mid-sized business, or maybe even enterprise business that manufactures widgets, is not at risk of cybersecurity. I mean, these guys are going after the Targets of the world and stealing credit cards, and these guys are going after governments and stealing, all these top secret stuff. And that was the case back in 2007, 2008. But quickly, these so-called black hat hackers, or these bad personas, they quickly organized, and they realized that if we create our own business model around creating vulnerabilities for everyday business and exploiting those vulnerabilities and holding them ransom, that we can make a whole lot more money, and it scales way better. So starting in about 2009, go to like 2012, you started to see trickles, and you'd hear about it, right? You'd hear maybe, a friend of a friend, or maybe it was yourself, or maybe it was somebody you actually knew directly, being impacted by having their systems be encrypted and corrupted. And basically the only way out of that was cryptocurrency and paying these threat actors money in order to release the keys. And the reason why they were in vulnerable positions is because they weren't doing the things that were necessary from a redundancy standpoint, a data architecture standpoint, data security standpoint, and redundancy as far as backups and so forth, to make sure that they weren't going to be the next victim. And it was about in 2014, and the numbers reflect this, that this really became something that not just the friend of a friend, but definitely the friend, and maybe even yourselves, have been impacted or attempted to be put in a vulnerable position. Now, maybe you have done the right things and have kind of worked around that trap that they tried to lay out, but I can tell you a lot of people have been impacted by this, and this is what's driving more and more people to the cloud and to the as a service. It's because the question becomes, how am I going to continuously keep up with these threats? Microsoft is continuously moving operating systems into legacy, right? And there's threats all over the place as far as Citrix being impacted from a NetScaler perspective, and I have to keep up with my users and make sure that they're trained not to click on that link, and I have to make sure that I have redundancies as far as backups go, and then I have to have people to manage all that. And so these trends are not going to slow down, especially with today's ecosystem of people being on premise. It's opened up a whole new world of possibilities when it comes to cyber threats and vulnerability attacks. You think about it with now people operating off of home devices, maybe not even corporate devices, and now having to securely connect in to the office where the data center resides. Those connection points, that's a lot of different things to manage. It's a lot of different pieces to make sure are all in the same row. So these are all reasons why you're going to see a lot more adoption that way towards that as a service. Just a quick, headline. I mean, if you just type in cybersecurity or ransomware attacks into Google, go to the news tab. I mean, it's pages and pages, and they're all within a week, right? These are no longer things that are going to pull up articles from a year ago. Every day, every hour, people are being attempted at, and there's no bulletproof solution to this. There's no way to just say, all right, I'm going to put on this shield of armor and I'll never be impacted. It's a constant game of cat and mouse. It's a constant game of preparing and making sure that our employees, that our infrastructure, that our systems are up to snuff, and that we're ready in case that does happen. So that's the philosophy that Cloud at Work takes. We take a philosophy of, we are going to do everything that we can to never put our customers in a vulnerable position. And we do that in multiple different ways, which we'll get to in a minute. But there is no bulletproof solution. I want to be very clear. There's only additional steps that you can take to make it highly unlikely. So let's get into some products, and I'll kind of go through the stories a little bit as to when we release these and why we feel that these products are viable in the market today. So when we launched about 3 years ago, we came to the marketplace saying that, okay, we are a Sage hosting provider. There's a lot of them out there, but there's no one really thinking about cloud at an enterprise level and doing the things that we're doing or want to do from a cloud perspective. Really, the Sage Cloud ecosystem, for the most part, is a race to the bottom. It's, how do I get my price point at the lowest, so that way I can attract everyone in with a low price point. Let's not talk about the vulnerabilities. Let's not talk about the trends in the marketplace. Let's not talk about cybersecurity. Let's just give a very low cost solution so everyone buys it. And that type of mentality of cloud existed outside of the Sage world probably about 6-7 years ago, and it's pretty much gone in other places. So we wanted to pair Sage expertise, but with the sound mind and an honest, non-biased opinion of the marketplace for cloud computing. So we decided to come to the table with the best of the best, not cut corners, not look at ways to lower the price point just for the sacrifice of customer experience, but let's put the best of the best out there. So we decided to build our cloud infrastructure with an N+1 redundancy, which basically means we're going to, for every one thing, there's going to be another thing. There's never going to be single points of failure in anything that we do. That goes from an infrastructure perspective, HVAC, power, cooling, internet, everything. As well, we decided that we're going to build what's called virtual private cloud computing. And what that means is we're going to dedicate virtual environments for customers. A lot of cloud companies out there in the Sage ecosystem are doing what's called multi-tenant or sharing. And there's bridges or connection points between each customer that can lead to vulnerabilities and lead to threats. So much so that some of our competitors over the past 2 years have had outages with their customers, impacting hundreds and hundreds of customers for multiple weeks of downtime. For a lot of customers, that is unacceptable. And a lot of those customers who are now over with us, that was unacceptable, which is why they chose us. But when you're doing this evaluation as far as coming to the cloud, you shouldn't let one of those events and that outage determine that this is now important. I can tell you that this is important. If you're making this shift to cloud, there is no golden goose. There is no less expensive solution. There's only mitigating risk and taking on more risk. It's really supply and demand. If you want to push more risk out to the marketplace or out to the service provider spectrum, you're going to pay more money for that. If you want to assume more risk and maybe not have redundancy or maybe have threads built between different clouds, you're going to pay less for that. So we're very transparent. We're very upfront about all these pieces. Again, everything is 24/7 by 365. You're going to have a complete custom dedicated cloud environment with cloud firewalls, cloud networks, no ties between one customer and another. no risk of a customer being impacted by a security threat and that impacting you. There's no limitations to applications, so third parties, customizations, anything, we can bring that in. As well, we have other customers who bring their actual entire production systems, everything outside of Sage they bring to our cloud as well. This is the big one. So every customer in our cloud, no matter if you pay us $100 a month or $100,000 a month, we have the same data policy for you, and we're not going to sacrifice that for anything. Every customer has hourly snapshots that we retain for 48 hours. We store those snapshots on a separate network. So now you have data in 2 separate locations. On top of that, we do daily incremental nightly backups for 30 days, and we store that in a separate geo-redundant data center. So now you have 3 different areas where backups and data reside, and they're all on separate networks. So there's no connection between those backups or production data. What that means is if, God forbid, an employee clicked on a link that they shouldn't have and your data was impacted by ransomware, we have 2 other locations that we can pull backups to the hour from and get you back up and running very fast. Now, we want to make sure that we talk to that employee and we try and reinforce that and understand that we're humans, mistakes are made. But unless that threat was very targeted and impacted 3 networks at the exact same time, your company will never be in a vulnerable position. Again, not impossible, but highly, highly unlikely. It would take a very targeted approach to do those things, and they would have to get through you and as well get through us. And I can tell you that we take this very, very seriously. On top of that, customers have the option to add in disaster recovery, which is a 4th area where data would reside. And we guarantee 4-hour recovery time objectives and 1-hour recovery point objectives. On top of all that, we guarantee 99.99% guarantees. So you'll see some providers who are out there guaranteeing 99.5 or 99.9, or some even say 100%. I'm here to tell you that there is no such thing as 100% availability. It doesn't exist. Basically, what that means is they're saying, here's our line in the sand. We're going to guarantee you that you're going to be up 100% of the time, and if you're not, we'll just give you credits until you're happy. We look at this differently. We take it very serious, and we want to over exceed expectations. So we guarantee 99.99% availability, which equates to 52 minutes of unscheduled downtime per year. And over the last 3 years, we've trended towards 6 nines, which is sub-seconds per year. Again, there is no guarantee of 100% that exists. There's only a whole bunch of credits that can come your way. Some companies, that's okay. Other companies, the outage is worth way more, or sorry, the outage is worth way more to them than a couple dollars, a percentage of what they pay per month, right? So we launched this product. This is really our culture. This is what defines us. This is who we are. But quickly we realized that this solution, while it is very enterprise in nature and has a very tall approach to cloud computing, a thoughtful approach to it, we realized that this isn't everything, or this doesn't solve the problems for every customer. Some customers are okay with placing more risk into their business, and they'll do that in sacrifice of a lower price point. And so we realized that these cloud providers out there were, again, the race to the bottom that we were talking about earlier. We realized that existed, but we didn't agree with the architecture. We did a lot of research on those providers, and we didn't agree with the architecture. We didn't agree with the philosophy. So we decided to create one better, and we decided to do it the right way, as far as setting the right expectations with customers and letting them know what they're signing up for. But at the same point, not sacrificing any of our data policies, not sacrificing any of our security policies, and just building a better solution for that subset of market. So in this solution, we call this hybrid secure. So we have certain back-end solutions that all of our customers in this solution are sharing or using together. But every aspect of customer data, every aspect of solution that a customer has information on lives on its own dedicated infrastructure that is separated from that back-end infrastructure. So if there was an impact to this environment, there's still security built in to isolate that to that customer. It's just there are systems on the back end that are shared and multi-tenant in order to drive the price point down for customers. Most of these customers that are going to use this solution are under 5 users and using Sage 100, Sage 300, Sage 50. It gives a 99.9% uptime guarantee, which is higher than everyone else in that marketplace as far as standardization for that guarantee. Still in the same tier 4 data center, still 24/7 by 365 support and monitoring by net at work employees, cloud at work employees, and still the same data policy of hourly snapshots, 48 hours, daily backups, 30 days. There is no disaster recovery in this solution, but the price points are as low as $90 per user, and that includes everything that you need to be successful in the cloud. Once we came to market with these two products have been the biggest two products for our company, and really we thought we were done from a product standpoint. We felt like we solved most of the market's challenges, and we were ready to really just focus on growth. But quickly, a lot of our customers were coming back to us and asking us for backup solutions, and even some customers were unfortunately in a position where their business flooded or their building burnt down, and our application teams were coming back to us and saying, hey, they store their data offsite. So we created a very easy way for Sage customers to do that. For as low as $50 a month, you can move up to 100 gig of data to our cloud, to our tier 4 facilities, and store that data and have a backup solution to move that data automatically offsite to a tier 4 facility. It's a very low cost solution, a solution that really completes, in my opinion, the cloud spectrum of products for us. And this just creates a very, very simple way to create an additional redundant backup policy, or actual be your backup policy for offsite backup. That being said, you know, we really are looking to do this the right way and make an impact in the marketplace that is long lasting and create long lasting customer relationships. And we feel as long as we continue to do this the right way, think of the products that are going to best serve the experience of the Sage end user, and keep our finger on the pulse as far as the technology landscape, and keep our products, services, and recommendations ahead of that pulse, that we're going to be in really good shape and we're going to be able to help a lot of people. So if you have any questions, please type them in now. Here is all of my contact information while you're typing them in. If you ever need anything, you can call me directly. I promise I smile all the time, just like that picture. I'm a very nice person. So you can email me, reach out to me. Again, happy to talk to anyone. Adrian, are there any questions?
Yes, we have a question. I just wanted to remind the audience that there is a question mark button right next to your name on the webinar pane. So please ask your questions by clicking that question mark button. And Jeffrey, I see your hand was raised, so you click the hand button. If you click the question mark button, a dialog box will open up, and you can go ahead and key in your question, and I will announce it for Tyler. And Tyler, will start off with, Sage is calling their Sage 100 solution Sage 100 Cloud. How does this enhance the Sage 100 Cloud solution?
Sure. Yeah, it's a great point. And I'm working very, very closely with the Sage leadership teams across all products, 100, 300, and X3, in order to help shape and guide that cloud strategy. Now, that name is a little deceiving. What that name means has nothing to do with cloud. It's really just a transition to subscription licensing and that payment model instead of the traditional pay maintenance every year. There are developments coming out with multi-tenant shared strategies for Sage 100 and 300 and X3 and cloud platforms that Sage is going to be releasing hopefully soon. But those platforms are going to be very rigid. There's not going to be this open approach to all ISVs and all third parties. There's going to be a different type of approach, and companies like Cloud at Work, and we're kind of working through the strategic vision together as we speak, but we're going to be helping fill in those gaps for those customers. But the Sage 100 cloud name does not mean that it is cloud-based. It just means it's subscription licensing. Great question, though.
And we have a question from Jeffrey. Jeffrey, thank you so much for this question. What is the normal timeline for a project to upgrade from Network Sage 100 to Sage 100 Cloud? How long would it take with IT, network management, and a local company to get it done?
Sure. So I think the question is to move to like a Cloud at Work solution. So I can't talk for every cloud partner out there, but as far as Cloud at Work, we're actually able to stand up cloud infrastructure within 24 hours. So we have that type of automation and tooling. As far as total time it takes to migrate, the first step is to have an expectation call or a kickoff call, set timelines, expectations, collaborate with vendors and business partners so we can get a good idea of the scope. Once we have everybody on the same page, we would stand up the infrastructure, and at that point your business partner would help migrate your application, and we have tools that allow them to do that very easily and efficiently. Once that data is migrated, you would move into a test phase and really test out the data while you're still running production locally. And then once you feel comfortable with the functionality of the application in the cloud, we pick a go live date. Typically it's over a weekend. Your employees would leave on a Friday, come in on a Monday, and be located in the cloud and not even know the difference, really. That process typically takes about 30 days, depending on everybody's timelines and depending on the testing schedule. So 30 days is a good estimate, soup to nuts.
And Jeffrey says, thank you, Tyler.
Yeah. You're welcome, Jeffrey. You're welcome.
And we have a question from Carol. Thank you so much, Carol, for this question. I am a Sage business partner located in Jamaica. Sounds nice. Do we have access to Cloud at Work solution?
Only if you let me come stay with you for a week. I need to get out of here. No, I'm just kidding. But yeah, absolutely. We have customers. Most of our customers are located within the continental United States, but we actually, through an acquisition of Southeast Computers, have a ton of customers in South America and even through the Caribbean. And we actually have users in Singapore, in China, in Hong Kong, and even scattered throughout the Middle East and India. So we have folks connecting in from all over the world. There are some, I would say, some compliancy things that we should talk about based on your current region and where data is going, where business resides, and the operations of laws from that region. And then also bandwidth is something that we would want to talk about on an individual basis as far as access to that based on the organization. But yes, absolutely, you would have access.
And we have a two-part question from Garish. Thank you so much, Garish. How API integration with other applications would be managed? So how does the API integration work with the other applications they might be running, Tyler?
Sure. Yeah. So I would assume, Garish, those applications are all on premise today. Or are they located in other clouds? But I can answer for both. But if you want to type in and clarify, that would be fine. But if you have
just clarification on that, Tyler, he had a second part of the question that clarifies that he's on Sage 300 ERP. So correct me if I'm wrong, Garish. If it's Sage 300 Cloud, let us know, but it's Sage 300 ERP. So that's big, if that helps you, Tyler.
Yeah, perfect. Beautiful. So we have, if you're moving Sage 300, let's say, to the cloud, in the virtual private arena, right, we're dedicating that virtual environment, dedicating a subnetwork, dedicating a virtual firewall for your business. So we're able to create, for instance, things like Active Directory extensions from your local environment, actually bring in APIs and integrations from a cloud to cloud perspective, one off. So we do a lot with Azure, we do a lot with AWS. Companies have either SaaS products that they're working with and tying that in, or they have other workloads or production in AWS or Azure. We have a ton of experience with connecting and integrating Office 365 in, things like OneDrive and SharePoint and Teams. So yeah, there should not be any type of limitation as far as API integrations. A good rule of thumb is 99% of the time, if you can do it on premise, you can do it in our cloud, just because of the way that we've architected it without boundaries. I hope that answers your question.
I believe so. Let us know if you, oh, he said, okay, Tyler. So sounds like that answered his question. And look and see if we have any more questions. I don't see any. Just a reminder, if you have a question, we'll hang out here for another minute or so. You just click on that question mark button and a dialog box will open up.
While we're waiting, something that actually we didn't talk about is how users connect. And Garish kind of got my mind thinking that way. So thank you for that, Garish. But so for Sage 100 and Sage 300, as we know, they're not web-based applications. Sage 300 is moving towards more of a web screen capability functionality, and certainly in our cloud, you would have that capability. But most are using or need some sort of client-server connection, right? Some sort of RDS, Citrix-like solution to connect, or VPN. We've normalized on RDS Web and published application. So we're able to allow you guys to connect to Sage 300 through any web browser, or actually embed a link or an icon to your native desktop where you can click on that and authenticate in. And we can make authentication really simple through things like single sign-on and SAML. We can do multi-factor authentication. We can do a lot of different unique things around securing that connection point. And then for applications like X3, which are web-based, we have very unique, secure ways to connect that, to connect users to that. But at the end of the day, if you have certain preferences as far as ports being opened or opening up certain aspects to the internet, we have that freedom because everything is isolated to your environment. So just something to think about there as well is connections and user experience using the tool. It's not cumbersome. It's very simple, easy, and users do not complain about having to take a whole bunch of steps to get to the application. It's very easy. So
Tyler, just a question I had while you were going through your presentation. You indicated that the cost was $120 per user per month. Does that include any of the Sage pricing, the Sage subscription pricing, or the Sage licensing if they're not on the cloud solution?
Yeah, so that was for the hybrid secure solution, right? The virtual private is actually priced based on resources. So we're very transparent with per resource pricing because everything is custom built. But the hybrid secure is per user. This 120 is for a SQL-based system like Sage 300, and the 85 to 90 would be like for a Sage 100 system. This does not include Sage licensing. This is just for the cloud, but it does include your SQL licensing. It does include Excel licensing. It includes your RDS licensing and everything that you would need to run your cloud.
Well, perfect. I am not seeing any more questions, and we have 20 minutes left to spare. So
my gift
we
to
just
you.
wanted,
you.
Well, we all wish we could have more time in our day. So once again, we appreciate everybody joining us and spending your time with us today. If there's no more questions, we'll go ahead and let you get on with your day. Thank you so much, Tyler. Great presentation. I did record this, and I will be sending out a follow-up email with including Tyler's contact information and the PowerPoint, if that's okay, Tyler.
Absolutely.
And a link to the recording, which is on our YouTube channel, which is youtube.com/ERPVAR. And we just hope to see you on a future webinar. Thanks again, everybody. Stay safe out there. Take care. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Take care.